Good afternoon, Coasty Explorers here. Welcome back to another episode. We are here at Victoria Peak, high up in Hong Kong, but we're not going to be investigating the peak or the famous peak tram. Today, as we carefully cross the road, we are going to be looking into something that was ubiquitous and red in Hong Kong for many, many years, and it's not these red taxis here. No, they're no longer ubiquitous and red, they are ubiquitous and green. Today we are going to do an investigation into the old British era post boxes. Let's check it out. Join me as we delve into the captivating history of postal service in this vibrant city of Hong Kong, China. From ancient Chinese postal systems to the British era post boxes scattered throughout Hong Kong, we'll uncover the secrets and stories they hold. And all this through an epic post box sunrise to sunset challenge. Don't miss out on this incredible journey. Hit that subscribe button and join us as we explore the rich tapestry of Hong Kong's postal history. So get on that stagecoach, pour a cup of tea, settle yourself down, because remember, Coasty always delivers. Aha, here it is. The challenge. Right. First one for Coasty Explorers. It's a good one. In 1892, 14 British pillar boxes were installed in Hong Kong, and until the handover to China in 1997, thousands more serviced the territory. There are currently 73 British era post boxes left in Hong Kong, 64 in service and 9 on display. Your task is to visit all of the pre-Queen Elizabeth post boxes still in service and to take a picture next to them. You must do this between sunrise and sunset whilst learning about the postal system in Hong Kong, China as you go. Right, a tough one, but a great first challenge. Let's go for it. Okay, so this is not going to be an easy task. I've already visited a few in my time whilst living in Hong Kong, and I know they are literally all over the place. On islands, in the city, up near the border. So we know the first boxes arrived in 1892, and that puts us in the era of Queen Victoria. And the king on the throne during World War II was King George VI, Queen Elizabeth II's father. So we've got to visit all of the post boxes during the reigns of Queen Victoria, Edward VII, George V, Edward VIII, and finally George VI. Now I know there are no longer any post boxes from Edward VII, who was Queen Victoria's son, and also Edward VIII, who only reigned for 325 days before he abdicated in 1936. In fact, there's only a couple of those left in the UK. So we need to find Queen Victoria, George V, and George VI post boxes. To help me locate all of the post boxes, I've utilised this really good map called Postbox Map of Hong Kong. I'll put it in the link below, and it shows me all of the British era post boxes still here. Now I want to deselect the ER2 ones and just leaving the oldest ones. The yellow ones are not in service but old, and the purple ones left are the George V and George VI ones. So it's time to get around all of these. I'm going to map it out on the wall and find out which box is where. Okay, so I've mapped it all out here on this map of Hong Kong. We are going to start on Lantau Island at sunrise at Shek Pik Reservoir. We've got to get there before 7 o'clock, which is no easy task. From Shek Pik, we travel along South Lantau to the ferry port at Mui Wo, and we catch the ferry around to the island of Chung Chau. From Chung Chau, after visiting the George VI wall box, we're going to go into central Hong Kong to Victoria Harbour, where we're hopefully going to take in the Queen Victoria post box in the museum and a special one hidden in central. From there, we're going to go back out to the island of Lama. Fabulous Lama Island, and we're going to hit the southern port of Sok Kuan, where we're going to find a George V post box. We're then going to take a little chugger boat round to Aberdeen. From Aberdeen, we get on the bus and go to Stanley, one of the oldest towns here in Hong Kong, where we're going to find a George VI red wall box not in service. From there, we take the scenic bus, double-decker bus ride over to Sai Wan Ho, to the harbour side, and catch the little boat across to Lei Yu Mun. There's a George V one there. We'll then get to Ngau Tau Kok, another George V pillar box before hitting Kowloon Tong for a George V wall box. And then we'll see what time it is. We'll probably have to rush to get over to the east coast to Say Kung, where there's a George V wall box, and then up to University, and then we are aiming to get to the final one on the mainland border here at Palm Springs by sunset at around 6 o'clock. Can we do it? Let's find out.
Good morning. It is 5:20 in the morning on a weekend, and we're just walking to get that first bus that's going to take us to Tung Chung and connect over the top of the mountains to South Lantau, where we're going to find our first postbox of the day, which is at Shek Pik prison, and hopefully we'll get there just for about sunrise. So let's go. Where else but the top deck of a double-decker bus to start our journey. Go time. Okay, well, just got off the bus there, and we are already on a tight connection. We've got the Shek Pik Reservoir behind us. The sun is about to rise in a few minutes' time. We need to get down to the prison to find the first postbox of the day. So let's get moving. We've just got to the prison, see the outer wall here, and if we just go up here, we get to some ancient rock carvings. Not got time for it today, but if you want to check them out, I've already made a video on it, so check out the link in the description below. And we are here, first one, and it is 7:02 exactly, and it is the George V. We can tell it's George V. It's got the V right in the center here, and this is a wall box. We haven't got a pillar box yet, but we will do. So George V, 1910 to 1936. Now what it's doing here, I don't know. So if you know, write it in the comments below. But I will tell you later on, because I'm going to find out the answer why this 1910 to 1936 postbox is here outside a prison that was built in the 1970s, 1980s. This wasn't here, this road, in the 1910s, 20s. So why is that old postbox located here? We'll find out later on in the episode. But now we've got to make a sharp exit as we head up the hill back to the main road to try and get either a taxi or a bus to our next destination, Mui Wo, where we're going to need to catch the inter-island ferry to Chung Chau. So let's go. I think we missed the connection. However, there is one more bus, and if we make that, it's going to bring us into the ferry pier just on time to make our connection, so it should be smooth sailing if we make that. Right, all week I've been asking my students at school to give me a question about Hong Kong Postal Service, China Postal Service, or British era pillar boxes. So let's go with the first question. It says, I've heard the Chinese postal system is over 2,000 years old. Is that right? Well, I know that it's very, very old, and it could be one of the oldest in the world, but we need to do a bit of investigation. So let's delve a bit deeper.
The Chinese created a postal system to relay information early in their history. Inscribed pictographs relating to the carrying and transporting of news can be found on oracle bones dating from the Shang dynasty as long as 1600 BC, so this would put it as the oldest in the world. By the early imperial period of the Qin and the Han dynasties, the postal system was highly organized. By the 1700s, during the Qing dynasty in China, the primary method of sending mail was through the imperial postal system. The imperial postal system consisted of a network of relay stations called Yi, which were strategically located along major roads and trade routes. These stations were usually about 30 to 40 kilometers apart from each other. The Yi stations were staffed with couriers and horses to facilitate the transmission of messages and mail, ensuring a continuous and efficient delivery process. The Imperial postal system was well organized and efficient, allowing letters and official documents to be transported relatively quickly across long distances, played a crucial role in facilitating communication and administrative governance throughout the vast Qing dynasty empire. With a history dating back to 1375, Yucheng Postal Stop in Jiangsu province still stands as one of China's largest and best preserved ancient postal stations. Covering a vast area of over 16,000 square meters, this Ming Dynasty era postal station comprises of more than 100 rooms. These include the postal station, lodgings, a mansion, the postmaster's residence, military officer halls, a horse deity temple, stables, warehouses, jail cells, and accommodation for postal staff. Unfortunately, in 1557, the Ming Dynasty saw Yucheng destroyed by Japanese pirates, and only one of the original drum towers still exists today. After a night's rest and a hearty meal in the postal station, postal riders, imperial messengers, and officials will continue their journey, delivering the important messages of the day. In remote and less well-developed areas, the infrastructure and delivery times might have been less reliable. Factors like banditry, weather conditions, and administrative challenges could also impact the effectiveness of the postal system in certain locations throughout China. Here in Hong Kong, before the British arrived, there were a few government offices, mainly to oversee the production and distribution of salt, which was made locally. There were a few forts scattered across Hong Kong to protect trade and to fight off pirates too. One of the oldest government buildings is still standing today at the Kowloon walled city park. It's known as a Yarman, and it's where the Mandarin or government official would have lived and worked. No doubt he would have used the Chinese system of couriers and messengers to deliver and receive information. It wasn't until the end of the Qing dynasty in the late 1800s that the modern postal service emerged. Check out this ornate postbox from the 1870s, which can now be found in the Postal Museum just outside Shanghai.
Like this guy knows. Thank you. Come guys, hi. It's like this man knows where to drop us off, because we made it to the ferry pier with 10 minutes to spare and right outside the bus we have got a Queen Elizabeth green pillar box, obviously post 1952, as it's got the Queen Elizabeth cipher on it. If you need to post your letters and then catch the ferry, this is the perfect place. But with 10 minutes to spare, just before I get on the ferry, I am going to try and head towards my favourite local Chinese breakfast place just over here. Can you guess what it is? It is indeed McDonald's. Not much open here this time of morning, so I'm going to grab a Mackey's, get on the ferry, and then, yeah, we'll get over to the island of Chung Chau. Let's go. Here goes I. Question: is this the closest McDonald's to a ferry pier in Hong Kong? Well, we're going to answer that very soon. But let's get on this ferry across to Chung Chau, and I think there it is, right there. And we are off, we made it. Right, time for another question from the students at school. And this one is, when was the first pillar box in the UK? And where does the word mail come from? That is a great question.
Prior to the introduction of letterboxes, there were principally two ways of posting a letter. Senders would either have to take the letter in person to a receiving house, effectively an early post office, or would have to await the bellman. The bellman wore a uniform and walked the streets, collecting letters from the public, ringing a bell to attract attention. It was Anthony Trollope, who was working as a surveyor's clerk for the post office, who first proposed the introduction of boxes to Britain, and a trial on the Channel Islands was approved. Part of his duties involved him travelling to Europe, where it is probable that he saw roadside letterboxes in use in France and Belgium. After many different designs and a lot of money being spent, some even having vertical slots for the letters, finally, in 1879, the government settled with what we now know as the penfold pillar box, which is the design we see around Britain today. Hence, why I also just realised that the Danger Mouse's timid hamster assistant was called Penfold.
Just notice the seats on this inter-island ferry are actually green and purple, just like the colours of Hong Kong Post. So there we go. Maybe this was a mail ship back in the day. Now, it wouldn't be a Coasty Explorers if we didn't have a little look at a public toilet, and this is the toilet on board the inter-island. And tell me if I'm wrong, but is this the best view from a toilet in Hong Kong? Watch this. There's the toilet, and look at this. What a wonderful way to spend a penny. Okay, we're 19 minutes to our next ferry. We have arrived at Chung Chau. Now, Chung Chau, really interesting island. So if you are over visiting Hong Kong, come over to Chung Chau. It's only 20-30 minutes from Central on a ferry. And now we're going to find out whether there is a McDonald's closer to the ferry pier here than in Mui Wo, where we just got on the ferry. And I can confirm, once we get out, that actually this must be the closest McDonald's to the ferry pier. It is the moment you step off. And not only that, but you might have spotted it already, there is another British era postbox. And this one is another Queen Elizabeth post 1952, so it's not one of our pre-World War II ones, but a beautiful specimen right outside the McDonald's, right outside the Chung Chau ferry. Now, as I said, great little town, really old village, fishing village that's now becomes very touristy. There's a few festivals that are held here, and it's just great to walk around, or you can hire a bike and head round. You've got to try and avoid the cyclists as you're going around, but a real cool place to be. It wasn't cool 100 years ago. In 1919 there was actually a racist ordinance here that said non-Chinese people couldn't live on a certain part of the island. So the southern part of Chung Chau was actually reserved just for missionaries and Western people. There was also an ordinance like this on top of the peak as well. So one of the sad things relating to the old colonial days here. Right, let's head down this street because we've got a special post box to find out. So let's see, I've never seen this one before. Place is like a rabbit warren at times, really small streets. Now, just see this really cool street sign here. It is Tai Sun Street, and these cast iron signs are all about Hong Kong. There aren't many of them left here now, but there are a few, so as you're walking around, try and spot some of these cast iron street signs. Let's keep going. Some beautiful old buildings here, derelicts at the moment. And we've got one of these, what are they called, Jason?
A beautiful, ubiquitous banyan tree.
There we go. And here it is, we've made it. This is a George VI postbox. George VI was the father of Queen Elizabeth II, so he reigned from 36 to 52, and there's only a few of these left here in Hong Kong. We're going to find one right at the end of our journey today, up near the Chinese border. Now, what I'm going to do, I am going to send some postcards. I've found a beautiful pack of postcards from the Hong Kong Postal Service, which have got the General Post Office from through the years on them, and I'm going to send them to people around the world who mean a lot to me. And the first one is to a gentleman in my hometown who was the first one to give me a job and help me out on my journey into manhood, to real life. So this is going off to a good friend in Postal. And there we go. Let's hope it's still in use. Right, let's head to the ferry pier. We have got 7 minutes to make the next ferry. We're going to just make the connection to the ferry. We will be back on Chung Chau. This has got a wealth of history. So check out later this year. Hopefully we'll do a big tour of Chung Chau.